Hello, everyone. My name is Makeda Valletta, also known as the Body Scientist and Queen Lioness. And today's video is going to be about Kegels, okay? And why Kegels, why Kegels may not be the best thing, or the different pros and cons, because there's been a lot of articles surfacing around the internet about Kegels not being good, and so that's what we're going to talk about today. So if you are not familiar with my work, hold on, let me turn this off. If you are not familiar with my work, I am a personal trainer with a background in exercise physiology and strength and conditioning. I'm also a sports nutritionist, a dancer, a doula, just so dedicated to the body, and that's where I get the name the Body Scientist. And my experience comes from book knowledge, school knowledge, also from my own personal experiences and from working with clients for the past 12 years. And I teach a class called Sensual Strength Training, in which I teach women to work with yoni eggs, and also there's dancing as a part of it, and strength training is a part of it for the whole body. So that's my background in case you're not familiar. The thing with Kegels, okay, I remember when I was in school and we worked on cadavers and, learned so much about anatomy and kinesiology, but they never really talked about our urogenital and pelvic diaphragms and just strengthening the muscles that support our sexual organs. That was never a part of it, which it should be, because when we talk about core training, which is a popular topic in the fitness industry, those are core muscles, okay? That's right in the deepest part of your core. And I remember, discovering yoni eggs about 8 years ago. I've been working with it for about 8 years now. And there's a big difference, because Kegels, a Kegel is basically like you're just taking your vaginal muscles and you're squeezing, okay? Squeezing your vaginal muscles. And what that can do is that can cause a woman to be too rigid. And it's strengthening is just as important as being able to relax. We want our vaginal muscles to be elastic. You don't want them to be like, super tight and contracted and, like you too rigid. Our vaginal muscles are elastic. They're meant to be elastic. And our vaginal muscles can lose elasticity over time if we don't strengthen them, but you don't want to over strengthen, over contract, okay? The relaxation part is just as important. And with the egg, you get both. Especially, I have an online class as well. And in my in-person class, the exercises that I teach, I always have women focus on what it feels like when they're relaxing and what it feels like when they're contracting, and to really connect to the two. Because some women just squeeze, 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 and they tense up. And a lot of midwives that I know say that in labor, there are plenty of women who don't know the difference between relax and contract, and they're contracting when they should be relaxing. So that's very important, and the egg work makes it easier to me to connect to that than just squeezing, squeezing, squeezing. Then the egg work has a lot of other benefits that Kegels don't have, and you can find that if you look at my other videos on the cosmic egg. I talk about that in more depth, but I'm not going to get too much into that now for this. But the other issue is, my sensual strength training class, the reason why egg work was not the only part of it, which is what most people, when they find out about that class, they just get stuck on the egg, egg, egg. But I always say that's not the only component of the class. It's also about dancing, and I choose dances of the African diaspora. So it could be dances from Haiti, Puerto Rico, Cuba, Colombia, Brazil, New Orleans, okay? Black dances, Congo-based black dances that involve a lot of hip movements that force you to connect to your hips and work your hips and be able to control it. Congolese dance, is like somebody could say it's the African belly dance or something, even though belly dancing has roots in Northeast Africa. But Congolese dance, to me, out of all the dance forms I've seen, is the most intense form of hip movements, okay? But whether it be belly dance, because belly dance is also excellent to connect to those muscles and get to learn how to control your hips, that's also very important, because you don't want to have you don't want to always squeeze your vaginal muscles and have like overly toned muscles deep inside your core, like your vaginal muscles, and then like the rest of your muscles are flaccid, okay? because our body is one whole organism that works together. So you don't want to just focus on your vaginal muscles and the rest of you is loose and flaccid and weak and out of balance, okay? So not only do you want to strengthen these deep core muscles with the egg, but then you get the dancing and the hip movements, and that helps to strengthen all the muscles that support your hips. And all the core muscles are considered to be muscles that cross the hip. So that includes the glutes, the hamstrings, the quads, our abdominal muscles, our back muscles, and our urogenital and pelvic diaphragms, and the muscles that support our sexual organs. Those are all core muscles. And with dancing and moving the hips, there's many different ways to move the hips. And that's why I do a variety of different styles, because the way they move the hips in Brazil is different than how they move the hips in DR. It's different than how they move the hips in Afro-Cuban Rumba. It's different than how people in New Orleans move the hips when they do bounce or, the second line movement. So there's a lot of different ways to move the hips. Sometimes you can move your hips by contracting your glutes a lot, which is found a lot in belly dancing. Or you could be contracting your lower abdominal region, or you could be moving your legs, or you could be, contracting your quads. I mean, there's different ways to manipulate the hips. And that helps your hips become more elastic and fluid and strengthen those muscles around the hips as well. Then, moving up from the hips, you have the rest of your body, your shoulders, your upper back, your arms, and, your legs, everything. So the strength training then, and the dancing helps to strengthen the entire body and also help you get more control. So from the, whether it be doing squats and push-ups and chin-ups to the doing Afro-Brazilian samba or Afro-Cuban rumba or Haitian folkloric dances to working with the egg, it gives a complete picture of strengthening and balancing all the muscles in the body. Because if you just focus on, like if somebody goes to the gym and they just like, okay, they're just going to lift weights, you do strengthen your pelvic and your urogenital diaphragms when you do squats with weights. And that's very important. But will that help you get more control? Will it help it be more elastic? Will it help you connect more? Probably not. Okay, because when you're doing heavy squats, you're not really aware of the fact that that you're working those deep muscles. But the issue with Kegels, like, a lot of the articles and stuff that's coming out is basically talking about the fact that just doing Kegels, like, isolated Kegels, can cause you to be hypertense, which is not a good thing. And it can cause an imbalance because you're not strengthening the rest of your muscles that support that region. It's not just your vaginal muscles. And there's an amazing Congolese teacher that I study with in New York. She's like the only one, because Congolese is very hard to find, Congolese dance in this country. There's like one teacher in New York. There's, and her name is Fumilayo. She's wonderful, if you ever can catch her. There's one in Michigan, Ann Arbor, Michigan. And then the rest of them are in the Bay Area, in the Malonga Center in the Bay Area. But for the rest of the United States, you won't really find Congolese dance. If you have access to it, I definitely suggest checking it out. But my Congolese teacher that I studied with in New York, I remember her saying, like her hip movements, I was probably like in my early 20s or mid 20s. And she was in her 40s. And, for us, we would look at her and we looked up to her so much because she was in such amazing shape, like way better than us. And we were like 20 years younger than her. So, and I'm just making up a number. I don't know exactly her age. But I remember her saying, like, these intense, difficult hip movements that she would do. And she would say, this kind of movement does not just come from, the outer muscles, but you have to strengthen the inner muscles as well in order to control your hips that way. And she was the only dance teacher I ever knew that would have us sit down and do certain contractions for our vaginal muscles. We would sit on the floor with our legs straight out in front of us, and straight up, arms on the floor. And she would tell us to contract our vaginal muscles, anal muscles, glutes, quads, and abs all at once. And we would squeeze as tightly as we could and relax. As tightly as we could and relax. And then that would go from a slow pace to a faster pace. And that's what we would do in our warm-up, So she at least had the idea that that was important to strengthen those muscles. I do think that working with an egg internally is even more effective for so many reasons. And a lot of that will be in my book. But if you go to my blog, thebodyscientist.com, I have a document called Egg Basics. And I talk about the different benefits of the egg. You can also find it in my YouTube videos. I have a few different things that you can check out where you can see the benefits of the egg. But working with the egg is not Kegels. I just want to make that clear. Because with the egg, if you put it in and do nothing, your muscles are still working to hold it. and it can help with elasticity because it actually has, like, here's a large bloodstone egg right here. It has this space in here, so this helps with elasticity, just it being something in there. And also, you can learn, which is what I teach in my classes, you can learn to move the egg to, like this is, if my two fingers were your vaginal muscles, you could learn to move the egg to the left, you can learn to move the egg to the right, you can learn to move the egg to the front of your body, and then to the back, and you can do clapping motions, like pretend like the egg was in between my hands. You can clap on the egg this way, you can do it that way, you can pull the egg up, you can push it down. There's a lot of things that you can do with these eggs. Then this egg is drilled. So with drilled eggs, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a hole. And with drilled eggs, you can do even more advanced exercises. So Kegels, you can't do all that. Kegels are just squeezing. And you don't, with strength training, you always want to strengthen all the muscles. It's like, you don't want to just do push-ups all the time and you never strengthen your back, because you end up with an imbalance. Your chest muscles end up so tight, your back muscles aren't. Next thing you know, you curve forward like this. And you see a lot of men who are always doing bench presses and bicep curls, and then they end up curved forward like this. So their back, if you can see my back, it's like your posture should be like this, okay? Your posture should be like this. But men who are, doing bench presses a lot and not strengthening their back, then they end up like this. Okay? You don't want to be like this, curved forward. And then the biceps are tight from doing all these bicep curls, and you just create an imbalance. Or, most people's hamstrings are much weaker than their quads. So if you're doing squats all the time and not doing deadlifts, not doing stuff that focus on your hamstrings more, you can end up with more of an imbalance. And then one day you run for some reason, you're playing with your friends, you're playing with your kids, you whatever, and then you pull a hamstring muscles. So it's very important to work opposing muscle groups and work all the muscles that surround that area, and make sure your whole body is balanced. So no, Kegels alone is not good. If you're sitting at a desk and you don't do anything the rest of the week and you're not very active, you're not strengthening the rest of your body, but you're doing Kegels, then yes, it can certainly cause an imbalance in your body. And you don't want to just focus on contracting all the time. You also want to focus on relaxing. And working with the egg can help you know which one you need to focus on more, because some women need to focus on strengthening more, and some women need to focus on relaxing more. But we both need to focus on both. It's just that we have strengths and weaknesses. And working with the egg can help you know that, okay? So I hope this made sense. And yeah, this is all about Kegels, all right? So if you can, get yourself an egg and start working and take some dance classes and strengthen your whole body, like strength train for your entire body, okay? So, like I said, I hope this helps, and you can find me at thebodyscientist.com, and you can find me on Facebook at McKay-The Body Scientist, okay? Peace out, people.